You accidentally slice your hand on a sharp stone while butchering a freshly hunted reindeer. The bleeding is minor, so no one in the tribe seems concerned. If it happened today, you would simply wash the wound and apply a bandage. But 30,000 years ago, everything was completely different. By the next morning, the wound has become swollen red and painfully hot. Every attempt to close your hand sends another wave of agony through your body. A few days later, a relentless fever leaves you trembling with exhaustion. Even standing up begins to feel almost impossible. You no longer have the strength to carry a spear into the hunt. You cannot even keep pace as your tribe crosses the frozen wilderness. The most terrifying enemy is not the wolves waiting beyond the snowfall. It is the invisible threat silently spreading inside your own body. No one understands bacteria, and antibiotics have not even been imagined. Yet everyone knows that tiny wounds have already claimed countless lives. Today, a single pill might save your life within hours. In prehistory, survival depended on something entirely different from modern medicine. Remarkably, your ancestors endured for hundreds of thousands of years. They survived without doctors, hospitals, or a single bottle of medicine. Archaeologists have even discovered people who recovered from devastating injuries. Their survival proves they relied on far more than simple luck. So what allowed ancient humans to overcome disease long before medicine existed? The answer may completely change how you see your ancestors. Because humanity's first medicine was never stored inside a bottle. It began with the way people learned to care for one another. You wake before dawn with your injured hand throbbing relentlessly. Every heartbeat feels as though the wound is being torn open again. The skin surrounding the cut has become swollen and bright red. Your fingers stiffen until gripping a hunting spear is almost impossible. An elderly woman quietly kneels beside you without saying a word. She studies the wound with eyes that have witnessed this countless times before. She has never heard of bacteria or infection in her life. Yet she knows wounds like this often end in tragedy. Water is gently warmed over the campfire to clean your hand. Dry moss and soft plant fibers are carefully placed across the open cut. No one believes these materials possess magical healing powers. They simply follow knowledge passed down through countless generations before them. Today, archaeology and modern medicine both suggest that keeping wounds clean greatly reduces the risk of dangerous infections developing. Even so, not everyone is fortunate enough to recover completely. Once fever begins, the chances of survival quickly become frighteningly uncertain. With each passing morning, your strength fades a little further away. Meanwhile, the tribe must continue hunting if everyone hopes to survive. A healthy hunter has suddenly become a burden for the entire group. Every piece of meat given to you is one another person must sacrifice. Yet archaeologists have discovered skeletons with devastating injuries that healed completely. Those people could only have survived through weeks or even months of dedicated care. But even if the wound does not take your life, another enemy far more terrifying still lies ahead. Unbearable pain without a single medicine to ease it. You close your eyes hoping for sleep, but sharp waves of pain keep shooting through your injured hand. Throughout the endless night, there are no painkillers, no anesthetics, and absolutely nothing capable of making the suffering disappear even for a few precious moments. A single rotten tooth could torment you for weeks without mercy. Every bite of dried meat sends agony racing through your skull. If your leg breaks during a hunt, every painful step begins immediately. Others must drag you back while every movement becomes unbearable. They may splint the broken bone with branches and leather straps. Even so, setting the bone remains an experience of unimaginable agony. A burn from the campfire can leave your skin blistered for days. Meanwhile, the risk of infection continues growing with every passing hour. For women giving birth, the pain is even more overwhelming than that. Every contraction must be endured without anesthesia or any medical relief. Experienced women may hold your hands, guide your breathing, and bring warm water. Their presence offers comfort even when the pain never fades. That care cannot make the suffering disappear completely. It simply reminds you that you are not facing the terrifying ordeal entirely alone. Across countless generations, ancient people likely discovered plants that eased discomfort somewhat. Yet their effects remained weak, inconsistent, and often unpredictable. Using the wrong plant or an excessive amount could become deadly instead. Something meant to relieve pain might easily create an even greater danger. Enduring pain was never just a test of physical strength alone. It meant finding the will to survive while your entire body begged you to stop. Yet through all that suffering, one remarkable question slowly begins to emerge. Who were the first people to truly understand how to heal the injured? The elderly woman remains quietly beside you, watching every subtle change around your wound through the long, freezing hours. She has never received formal training or owned specialized tools. Yet she possesses something even more valuable: decades of hard-earned experience. She has seen which cuts eventually heal, which become dangerously infected, and when an injured person begins slipping beyond recovery. Among small hunter-gatherer bands, that knowledge could belong to an elder, a caregiver, or anyone who observed life carefully. They learned through endless trial and error, and sometimes through the tragic deaths of those treated with ineffective methods. Someone who understood how to clean wounds, splint broken bones, or recognize poisonous plants became an invaluable member of the tribe. They were not doctors in the modern sense of the word, but to their people they carried generations of survival within their memory. Their knowledge was never written into books because writing did not yet exist. It survived through stories, observation, and repeated practice. A child might sit beside the fire watching experienced hands crush leaves, clean wounds, or bind a broken limb. Years later, that same child would repeat those very actions when another hunter collapsed during a dangerous expedition. Not every treatment truly worked as intended. Some rituals may have offered only emotional comfort or helped frightened patients remain calm. Even so, careful observation, practiced hands, and collective memory became the earliest foundation of human healing. Then, after countless generations spent studying the natural world, people slowly discovered that certain plants could actually change the human body. As your wound continues to swell and ache, the elderly woman begins searching the land surrounding the campsite for anything that might help. She gathers dry moss, tree bark, fragrant leaves, sticky resin, and soft plant fibers growing throughout the nearby forest. Some of these materials may help cover an open wound, absorb moisture, or keep a simple bandage securely in place. Archaeology rarely reveals exactly which plants prehistoric people actually used, because most organic materials have completely decomposed over thousands of years. For that reason, many prehistoric healing practices can only be carefully reconstructed from archaeological evidence, local environments, and traditional ethnographic knowledge. Ancient people may have chewed leaves, crushed bark, or boiled roots in water before carefully watching how the human body responded. If pain eased or swelling gradually subsided, that method would likely be remembered and passed on to future generations. If the patient vomited, became delirious, or died soon afterward, the tribe also learned that the plant was extremely dangerous. Nature was never a perfectly safe pharmacy. The same plant could heal in small amounts, yet become poisonous in larger doses. The season of harvest, the preparation method, and even the specific part of the plant could completely change its effects. Without written prescriptions or accurate dosages, every experiment balanced on a razor-thin line between hope and disaster. Even so, after thousands of years of careful observation, humans gradually built enough knowledge to ease pain and improve the chances of recovery. But just as you begin feeling slightly stronger, terrified screams echo across the valley, signaling that an injured hunter is being carried back to camp. 2 days later, the hunter is still alive, and everyone in the tribe begins believing he has survived the worst of his injury. Then by afternoon, the wound suddenly swells. Larger, radiates heat and gives off a strange foul odor unlike anything they noticed before. A violent fever soon follows, his breathing becomes heavy and his entire body trembles, despite lying beside the warmth of the fire. No one can see the bacteria multiplying deep inside the wound, because that knowledge will remain undiscovered for tens of thousands of years. The only thing the tribe understands is that many people have died in exactly the same terrifying way after suffering an injury. At first, they speak normally, but within only a few days, they become delirious, grow weaker, and never wake again. To prehistoric people, it seems more like an invisible curse than a disease that could ever be explained. Today, we know the cause was often bacterial infection entering through deep cuts, torn flesh, or exposed broken bones. Without antibiotics, the body has only one defense, its own immune system, fighting an invisible battle against countless invading microbes. If the immune system prevails, the patient slowly recovers, carrying the scars of that struggle for the rest of life. But if the infection wins, the fever continues rising until one organ after another begins to fail. You quietly watch the hunter's breathing grow weaker, realizing the deadliest battle is happening where no human eye can see. Even more frightening, despite everything the tribe does to help many injured people still cannot be saved. The tribe never abandoned the wounded hunter yet. Even the most devoted care was not always enough to save a life. They kept him close to the fire, gave him water, changed the dressings over his wound, and watched every small change with concern. Yet a deep wound could cause catastrophic blood loss long before the body had any chance to begin healing. Broken bones could also damage blood vessels or internal organs, leaving the injured person permanently unable to move or hunt. Even a small cut could become deadly if dirt, animal waste, or contaminated water entered the damaged tissue. Malnutrition left the body without the energy, protein, and minerals needed to rebuild tissue and fight infection. Winter made everything even worse because the freezing cold forced the body to burn precious energy simply to stay warm. When food became scarce, the injured often received the largest share, meaning the rest of the tribe had to endure greater hunger. Caring for one wounded person over several weeks also meant losing a hunter, a defender, and another pair of working hands. If the tribe had to migrate, they faced an impossible choice: slow down to carry the injured or leave them behind. Archaeological evidence shows that some prehistoric people survived severe injuries for many years, proving they received long-term care from others. Yet the skeletons cannot tell us how many people died before their wounds ever had the chance to heal. You realize that prehistoric humans did not lack compassion. They simply lacked the medical knowledge and treatments needed to defeat every illness and injury. The wounded hunter still lies weak beside the fire, but he is no longer facing the burning fever alone. One person keeps bringing water, another tends the fire, while the elderly woman patiently changes the wound dressings throughout the night. The strongest members divide his responsibilities among themselves, hunting, standing guard, gathering firewood, and protecting the tribe's children. None of these acts can kill the bacteria inside his body, but together they give his immune system more time to fight. Water prevents deadly dehydration, warmth reduces heat loss, and food provides the energy needed for healing and recovery. More importantly, being protected allows the injured hunter to rest instead of continuing to travel, hunt, or defend himself. Archaeological evidence reveals that some prehistoric people survived severe injuries because their communities cared for them over many years. Some individuals lived long after losing all of their teeth, suggesting that others regularly prepared soft food for them. Others survived devastating fractures that could never have healed without the long-term support of their entire group. Compassion was not simply a moral virtue, it became one of humanity's most powerful survival strategies. A wounded hunter who could no longer chase prey might later become the one who taught survival skills, remembered migration routes, or cared for children. You finally realize that ancient humans did not survive because they possessed miraculous medicine. But because they refused to let the sick and injured fight alone, modern medicine would not appear for thousands of years. Yet the first true foundation of healing had already begun with human cooperation.